Hi, welcome. This is Craig Cobb, adventure journalist, and I'm going to read today to you about the Gabbyruse. That's spelled Gabbyruse. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's on Wikipedia, and these are the quotes about the Gabbyruse by my friend Alexander. Okay? Gabbyrusers aren't anything but Gabbyrusers, in whatever mask suits the place and time. They're a paranoid and racist people who help one another and screw everyone else. If you don't like that, you should only help your own people, like they do, and maybe you succeed like they do. Of course, a large part of their sticking together and getting ahead is passing laws to ensure that your group's existence as a group is criminalized by law and stigmatized in their media as hate. A really good thing to do with Gabbyruses is gonna have to excise this particular term, especially in this historic time now. A really good thing to do with Gabbyruses is to blank them. This is for you too. Highly effective it's. Okay, here's another one. If there were a God and he picked the Gabbyruses, then he should be up on the wall at the post office. But there isn't, he didn't, and they ain't. Another, unfortunately, excised word for you too, because it would give away too much about the Gabbyruse. You can read about them all over on Wikipedia. It says, they ain't blank their choice. They go great with no money and boiling water. And that's just about what we're down to, no money and boiling water. Just like the East Indians, that's why they like the tradition of tea. Just throw a few twigs, sticks in there. Even the poorest of man could host someone with a few little herbs and hot water over it. That's the tradition of tea, for the young people who didn't know that. So, Mr. Linder says, they go great with no money and boiling water, just like tea. So you got to put in the just like tea part. Or enjoy them Ivan the Awesome style, fresh off the griddle. Okay, the only potential threat to Gabbyruses ruling the world are independent-minded, tough white males. Which is why that is the subset of the population most harassed, vilified, and outlawed. Excuse me. The only potential threat to Gabbyruses ruling the world are independent-minded, tough-minded white males. Which is why that is the subset of the population most harassed, vilified, and outlawed. You got it all? When blankety blank ruled, another YouTube censor here, there were no-go zones for Gabbyruses. When Gabbyruses rule, there are no-go zones for whites. Isn't that interesting? Gabbyruses have the right to exist as a people and to have and to hate enemies. Whites who acknowledge whites exist are called haters. Am I kooky for suspecting that Gabbyruses are whites' enemies? What do you think, white man? The only way for a tiny minority to ride a giant majority is to persuade that majority to think in individual terms, to splinter off into region, religion, Rand, as in in-Rand or An-Rand, whichever you prefer. Anything but the all-important, all-underlying race. Take it from me, you do exist, white men. Okay, nothing will change until Gabbyruses are killed. Oh, did I say that? Are kinded. That's supposed to read kinded. I slipped of the tongue on my fault. That means, that's a derivative that means made kind. Physical force is the only thing Gabbyruses respect. All their blather about rights and equality and respect is pure wind. Gabbyruses only respect you when you treat them the way they treat. Censored for YouTube. When a Gabbyruse speaks, start by assuming the opposite of what he says is true and try to disprove that. Usually you can't, unless it's in his interests. The Gabbyruse never speaks the truth. Gabbyruses evolved language as a tool, not for communication, but for deception. Got some more of this. I cannot think of a single major aspect of reigning U.S. foreign or domestic or media policy that is not explained by Gabbyruse group interests better than any competing explanation. It's funny how you can look up what 100 great men said about Gabbyruses and not a single one said they're brilliant and noble people who elevate the quality of life for any host nation they settle among. No, the great men in the West called them the same thing as the low men, liars, swindlers, pests, and parasites, which is what they are. The Gabbyruses behind this failed war from day one spewed hatred on the sane adults, including French and Germans, anti-war libertarians, and white nationalists with round-the-clock yipping that insisted either you're with us or you're a terrorist. Now the Gabbyruses step away from the facade as they sense the wrecking ball drawing back for a smash. On to the next front. Hell, you could make a nature show about these weird animals. Which shell will Gabbyruse the hermit crab don next? Gabbyruses have a right to exist as a separate and distinct genome and culture, whereas you have the right to marry your daughter off to a censored for YouTube. Don't like it? They don't care. They only care about what you do toward toppling them. The rest is the snarls of a caged lion. Gabbyruses don't choose names and labels to communicate where they stand. They choose their names and labels by where you stand. Gullible, censored. When the scene shifts, so does the Gabbyruse name. Whatever you're buying is what he's selling. What he's selling is what he is. This mentality is what actors call in the moment, which has been picked up between coasts by morons buying whatever glasses they think Tom Cruise wears. Most of us never really leave high school. Gabbyruse is why, as reflexively and unthinkingly as humans breathe. Things are so bad that in some countries you don't even get thrown in jail for criticizing Gabbyruses. I don't know about you, but I'm ashamed to be an Earthian. This planet needs a spanking. Okay, you've got a couple more. Give me a moment. Here's a couple of others from Alex. The term racist is genocide. It is the attempted mass murder of white people. And the Gabbyruses want to rule over their lands and our lands too. That's David Duquin. What to say if you're accused of being a racist? This is a Tom Metzger. Thank you very much for the compliment. Are you on too? Remember, as always, that media organs do not exist to spread the truth, but to advance the interests of the owners. When you recognize that fact, you can get some use out of them. If you want media you can trust, you have to look for the white label. Center for YouTube, and that's Alex. Whites identifying as whites is the only road back to political sanity. Really, for all the writing and talking we do, the solution is pretty simple. Rule by white men, looking out for white interests, and controlling white space. That is our absolute demand, and that, by the way, is also the chaos ensuing from that situation which used to inhere in our many, many countries, which are Euro-descended. That's the seed of the present chaos, all right? That which we lost, we're trying to regain. And that's why if you look on Facebook and you search white pride groups, you search brown pride groups, you search brown pride, black pride, all of them, Muslim pride, and then see which one of them, which ones of those have been excised, killed by the owners of Facebook. Take a look. And there's a specific reason why they stop us from organizing, why people such as myself get hounded from country to country to country. If it were an equal playing field, for example, Pod Blanc, we know it was a massively huge success numerically. Okay, tens of millions of hits. What happened? And by the way, even in the Finland court, when they talked about the thermite video, I actually got that from the very site you're on right now and others. Okay? So be careful, the owners over there, if you ever fly to Finland, they might pick you up too. Okay, this is Craig Cobb, adventure journalist. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the lesson about the Gabbyruse.